Find this real quick. Now, when you guys buy stuff, the best thing to do, you have fail-safe. Anybody know what fail-safe is? Anybody? If you lose power to your radio, it should go into fail-safe. And basically what fail-safe is, it's either neutral or brake. And to set your fail-safe, go into here, go to bind. You find the use in bind. When you turn your car on, with the bind plug in here, hit the button, full brake. It'll bind. When it binds, it loses control. The brakes will go full brake. By having a full brake, when you bind it, when it loses control, it'll go full brake so the car doesn't go out of control. Any questions on that?
You can also make it turn the steering if you want to.
Yes, you can do that also.
If you wanted it to go in a circle, you can also set the steering during the bind.
Yep, everything plugged back in here. Now I'm going to be very kind of basic on this. If you guys have any technical questions, please ask. But I don't want to confuse anybody on a bunch of details that you don't want to know about. All right. Okay. Yeah, let's figure it out this a little bit. Now, what I would do if I had this car, I would unbolt this right here, and I would center it up, and just put it back down. And I do the same with the throttle. Now, with the steering on the 5, it's very crucial that you get the steering correct on this. And when you steer it, you want it to steer, but see how much play I got in that without the wheel even turning? What I do, go over to travel, steering, I turn it, and I have a little gap in here. It's not going to steer any more than that right there. That much isn't going to make it steer any more than having a full lock. And you want to do both sides like that. So you have a little bit of play here and a little bit of play here. That's all you need to do with the servo. It's very simple. So a lot of guys will get fade in the steering. The reason why they have fade is because the steering is overworking. It's going lock to lock. And when you're driving and you got that thing locked over and this is fighting this, all it's going to do is it's going to heat up. So you want to make sure that you have the servo working properly, and I run 45-minute mains with no problem on a single servo. Same thing with the throttle. You can see how much, you got way too much throw here. Go over to the throttle program. Turn it down.
Got a rate set up.
Turn it down, and then see how things flexing? That's way, way, way too much.
That's why I had them do it.
And with these, with the dual brakes, you have four-wheel braking here. So front wheels are braking, rear wheels are braking. This is working together to run both front and back. If you want a little more front brake, turn this, tighten it up. Want a little less brake, loosen it, tighten it up. You do the same thing. Tighten the rear up, loosen the front. If you want it to hit the brakes, spin that back end around, loosen the front, tighten up the rear, it'll get that back end to kick around. If you have a long straightaways with hairpins, you want to be full brake, Put a little more front brake in it, you get a little more stopping power. Any questions on the steering on this car? Any questions on the throttle on this? You all good?
Yeah, one thing I'd like to mention a little bit about on the steering, on the trim. A lot of guys, if their car is, is going one way to the right, a lot of guys will try to use up a lot of trim to correct it, and then they'll notice that the car steers tighter left than it does right. So what I do when I first install a servo and set up the steering is I use the sub-trim menu to center up the steering. Get those wheels as straight as you can from the beginning. And then when you use your trim menu later, you're not losing travel one direction or the other. So that's one, if you've got a nice radio like the DX3R, and some of the aftermarket radios that have that sub-trim control, you want to use that to make sure you're, to help get your front tire centered. After you make sure you've got the horn centered as close as you can on the servo.
Now I run 7.4 LiPo in mine, directly to the receiver with 2 steering servos, and it powers it just fine. And 7.4 going through the system for 45 minutes, it's going to create a lot of heat, and it works great. It works awesome. Also, maintenance on this, what I'll do is, on a big race like this, before I practice, I'll pop, I'll take the wheel off, I'll pop the pins out here, pull the axle out, I'll re-grease CVDs on both sides, put them back together, and put them back in. This is kind of a wear item here. You want to keep it as free and smooth as possible. So just grease it with some axle grease, and it'll last you a long time and give you a lot better steering. Also, disconnect your steering if you have it, and steer the wheels back and forth. It should be pretty free. If it's not free, take the piece, the linkage off one at a time and find out what's tight. Find out if there's something bent or if there's something just not set right. Fix it, and that'll help your steering out a lot. Also, some guys have a lot of problems with it pushing. It comes stock with a plastic top servo arm here. You can go to the aluminum ones that last a little bit longer. They do start to spread out after a while. It is a wear item. Go to the aluminum one; it'll last a little bit longer. And watch your servo nut. Put a little bit of blue Loctite on it, or double nut it. I know there's a couple companies out there that make a double nut system for it that will keep that nut from backing down. So if you have a steering problem, check your jam nut first, and then if that's fine, then check your servo saver, make sure it's not wore or damaged, and then if it's still not a problem, bring it over. I'll take a look at it. But that should be the issues you have with this car.